Hey friends, welcome back to the Adventist History Project. My name is Matthew Lucio, Director of the Adventist History Project, and I want to introduce you today to a pastor in the UK who is a friend of mine. We have been conversing for several years about Adventist history and other things, and he is doing something really exciting to help preserve Adventist history where he is. And I'm going to introduce you to him in just a second, but I think this video of him speaking at an event for the South England Conference will, let him introduce himself here. He's awesome.
And when he heard about Southampton, what is your first idea? Is it Titanic? Because of the movie. It was the same a friend of mine. I had the best friend, and you know, when you get the news and you get employed as a pastor, first thing you are calling your best friend to tell him. And I would love to say for him, as Jonathan said for David, your love to me was wonderful, passing the love of woman, but today it could be understood in a different way. So I just called him and said, I'm starting my pastoral journey from Southampton. And he said, you know, Titanic started from Southampton as well.
Pastor, thank you so much for joining us. I love that so much. You're going to Southampton and you tell your friend, and he's like, you know, Titanic began there as well. It's like, good luck to you. How has your ministry been? Have you crashed yet or hit an iceberg?
No. I'm still at this part before crying, so it is quite nice part. And yeah, to be honest, I came to England just to learn English, and then I came for master, so I'm still speaking this Borat English, but I'm getting when they called me to Southampton, I asked President, are you sure that you want me over there? You know, and I Googled Southampton, and I went on website of the church, and I saw, oh, this is very first Adventist church in Southampton. John Labro was there, and during my studies, I was working in maintenance team, so could you imagine when you're assembling IKEA and all this stuff? It's quite boring. And I said to a friend of mine, if only we have some podcast, Adventist podcast that I can listen. This history podcast. So then I started as my way to learn English. I was listening to your podcast. So
Really?
Yes. So this is way how I in contact with you. So while I was assembling IKEA, I was listening to this history podcast, and then you heard about John Labor. Could you imagine you're getting employed, first church, and you are going straight to Southampton, you know, walking the road where Ellen White was, etc. So, and there were plenty of people, you know, even Spicy Spicer, as you like to say. He was there. So
Yes.
plenty of guys. Yeah. So it was really emotional for me, you know. When I took a walk with Head Elder on my first day in Southampton. So it is quite, but it was not the only one church. There is Isle of Wight as well. This is more islands close to Southampton. For those who don't like geography, Southampton is very south of middle south UK.
Yeah.
And then you have additional small island, and over there we have it's not that small. It's 140,000 population. Yeah, so we have a small church over there now. They're starting new church plan because it is quite spread. So yeah, there is plenty of work. So if you want to be busy, come and be missionary in the UK.
There we go. At your church in Southampton, you have this plaque there right now commemorating it as the first Seventh-day Adventist church to be founded in the British Isles. And I tell you, if I was going to pastor a church and I walked in and I saw a plaque like this, I'd be so excited to realize the sense of history of where you are. That's amazing.
Oh yeah, it was. It was especially when you are in the mood, you know. I think that I was around episode 46, something like that, you know. And you are listening, you're in the mood, and then you came and see the plaque, you know.
Yeah.
And then I thought, do we have more? And then you hear we have nothing. And even in the church, we cannot invite visitors because we are packed every Sabbath, 150 chairs, and it is packed. So if you want to visit us, you know, then we don't feel very comfortable because we will sit up top of each other. But I felt, you know, bad. Why we do not have something more? All these minutes, members' book is kept at Newbold College. But there is nothing more, you know. When you came as a visitor, you cannot offer anything. And for example, Southampton is port, and this is the reason why Adventism started from Southampton, and all these cruises are going through Southampton, and during the summer you always get some visitors, and you say, oh, by the way, this is First Adventist Church, and that's it. You
Mm.
don't have anything. And I was dreaming, especially last GC council, there was guy, oh, I forgot his name, so I would lose his support now. Marcus, Marcus, and some German family name. It's quite complicated for my tongue. So he's for Adventist
Yes.
Heritage,
Yeah.
and he has such a moving presentation. I said, okay, I'm going to copy it. I'm going to try it. And I heard that they have Heritage Center. In meantime, we were looking for bigger church because the space is not enough for us. So I heard from agent that very soon the church will be on sale. And this church is just across the road of historical place where John Labrador rented this Ravenswood building. So I said, wow, this is opportunity for us. But all what we have is pocket full of dreams, with
Yes.
money for that. As often is going because majority of members in the UK is first or second generation immigrants. So when
Mm.
you're set yourself, you cannot support church that much. So financially, you don't have potential in
Mm-hmm.
comparison to the number of members that you have. But idea was something very catchy for me. I was doing some research during the summer, and when I saw this video, I said, okay, we need to go this route, and just to try. You cannot lose anything. It
Yeah.
is above our potential. Maybe if I share from,
Sure.
yeah, let me share the few images of the church.
That would be
Yeah, so
great.
this is church that was on sale. It's cute church, 500 seats. You have additional rooms, and my dream is to have media room as well because before I become pastor, I had some media experience. So here on the
Mm.
back, you can sport hall size of the badminton court, as you can see here.
The church has a badminton court. Nice.
Yes, yes, yes. So you can see, and
Huh.
theater
Mm-hmm.
stage. So it is like something complete when you can have all sorts of events. You can have John Laboro Memorial Tournament in table tennis because that is Adventist sport number one. Yeah, so later on, maybe I will tell you a story about this stained glass window.
Okay.
It's packed of history.
Yeah.
Southampton is packed of Adventist history, but we do not have anything to show. You
Okay.
need to see and bring pieces together. And let me show. So this is the church when you go look at Google Maps. And here across the road was the place, Ringwestwood villa that they rented. In different
Mm.
sources, it said Ringwestwood Cottage or the villa, but this is the same place. So it was here. And across the road, there were three houses of the same shape. So this house looks almost the same as the Ringwestwood. And here is the church that we are buying now. Our offer is accepted. So we are just waiting for some surveys to be done, and unfortunately we will need to sell our church. But it is literally across the road of historical place. You cannot knock down all these flats to build our
Of
heritage
course.
center. This is close enough to be there. And
Okay.
it is potential to build something big, but it takes a lot of time and a lot of money. During the COVID, this church was quoted by homeless because URC Church, they stopped worshiping, I think, around 5 years ago, and then it was not attended, so
Mm.
homeless went in. Brother and I, we went, while homeless were in just to see how it looks like, and because of copper, they took electricity. Everything is taken, so it's just a shelter.
It all got scrapped.
So you need at least £500,000. I don't know how much it's in dollars here, but just to renovate it.
$20. Might be a little bit more than that. So let me just summarize this for people who are listening. Basically, you guys have outgrown the church that you guys are in now. You found a church down the road that is larger, and it just needs a little bit of work done to it. And this new church is right across the street from where this first mission was set up in the UK when the Adventists first landed there, William Ings, John Loughborough. And thank you. You have not said his name yet, but another pivotal player here, of course, is Judson Washburn. And I appreciate you sparing my feelings about Washburn. Even though I know he did some good work there, I got to give him credit for that. But But anyways, you're right across the street from where Adventism started in the UK, and you want to dedicate a portion of this new church that you just showed us to commemorating the arrival of Adventism in the UK.
Yes, to be honest, Andrews, he came, but I think that he was only for a few
Yes.
days. He wanted to
Yeah.
visit. So it was few years before, but let's say 1878 is the year when Adventism started. First baptism happened in 1880s on February the 8th. So now on February the 8th, we are going to have two ladies baptized to have like small celebration, 145 years. And
That's
when I mentioned
great.
this, and they said, okay, we want to have this. And Sarah Peppers, I think that Sarah Peppers was the lady who was baptized, one of the first people to be baptized. And when Ellen White came in 1885, she went to visit her and they had a dinner. And it is just down the road. This house is still there. There is some
Really?
takeaway. Yeah. Let me show you again
Ah, I'm
on
excited. So the first convert in the UK, her house is still standing?
Yes. Actually, a few people have been baptized on that day, so we don't know who have been first baptized. Yeah,
I
but
see.
she is a first
She
convert,
was
and
among the first, yeah.
for literature, yes, she was for literature. So now our church is just down the road, 300 meters, and it was bought after the work of Washburn. I know that we have different opinion
Okay, there
about.
we are.
Yes, so this is our current church in 1895. So it is not very first building because close to Grimsby, somewhere in Midlands, they built their own church few years before us. So we don't have historical place, and unfortunately, we are going to sell this church after 130. So here, from this church, there is takeaway here, and this is the church where this.
Where the chicken shack is?
Yes, and Ellen White was vegetarian in that times.
I'm sure that same chicken shack was still there when Ellen White was there.
Exactly. Yes. So this is the one. Yeah, and here on number 120 was the place because Ravenswood Cottage was too expensive for them. So for a few years before they purchased the church, they have been in the back room of this family here. I didn't find the name of the family. Yeah, but all road is quite packed, and if you go just a little bit further, you can find a small land where they pitched the first tent. Yeah, let me go. Yeah, so here, when I recorded with my elder, here was some billboard with bad boys. You remember this movie?
Yeah.
So when we have been recording, it was Yeah, so on this place, John Laboro pitched the tent, but he didn't know if you pitch the tent in the UK, you cannot expect people coming as it is in America. Why? Because here it is dedicated for lower caste and for circus. So they would not
Ah,
serious dogs. And it was huge disappointment for them. And plus weather, British weather is not a pleasant one, so it's quite rainy. So all street is packed with history, and this
interesting.
is our dream to have this heritage center, and then you can have presentation with the people, and after that you can take a walk down the road and say, okay, here across the road was first person baptized. Washburn bought this church. Actually, they bought after he left, so it was not directly purchasing of him. And then Ellen White had dinner in this house. They worship in
Yeah.
first 10 meeting happened here, and then you go a little bit further, and there is place where it was Philharmonic Hall, and Ellen White had campaign over there. 600 people attended. She wrote about how she felt unwell, and they prayed. And, it brings you some emotion. I came from south
Yeah.
of Europe, yeah, Croatia, Serbia, from this part, and we were just reading and listening about Ellen White. We didn't have, physical touch. And now, when you came from that context, I said, wow, she was walking down the road. You feel at home,
Yes.
despite that I classified English with each of my sentence. I feel local, I'm walking in the
Yeah.
shoes of those great people. So I think for our people across the Britain, it would be interesting to come and see, to have this trip, and also for Americans, because a lot of Americans are taking cruise trips, and Southampton is main
Of
stop,
course. Of
and
course.
they would come to our church because it's walking distance. And then, could you imagine, instead of
Yeah.
just showing the plaque, you can say, okay, let me give you a tour. And
Yes.
then they a proper tour in Southampton about Adventist history. And by the way, you know that Adventism started from Southampton, not from America. I don't know, have you heard about this? But yeah, Mayflower. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Titanic is popular because of the movie, but Mayflower, actually, all important stuff in Southampton is called Mayflower because we are proud of
Okay.
Mayflower.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
Mayflower is the vessel that brought first pilgrimage fathers to US, and on this vessel, one baby was born, Peregrine White, the son of William White,
Yes.
and he kept the shoes of his father,
Mm.
like memorial. You remember when Joshua
Y-
was crossing the Jordan and he took these 12 stones? So this
Yeah.
guy didn't have stones, so he kept the shoes of his father. And what he did? He said, okay, I will give to my firstborn to stay still in Old Testament mood, And it was grandfather of James White, founder of Adventism. So we as uh, I can say British people, despite that I'm almost there to get British citizenship.
That's right.
Yeah, but for Britain, we feel kind of proud, They started from Southampton. It was August 5th, 1620, but it was too far, but still we feel connected. Okay, it may all circle after a few centuries, and then
Yeah.
Ellen White back and Adventism started from Southampton. So I think this story would be quite interesting to hear for all
Mm.
Adventists across the world. And no, cruisers are quite popular today. So
Yeah.
if they know about that, maybe it would navigate them to take this route. But if you are
Yeah.
going through Europe, you cannot miss Southampton because we are quite important port. This is the reason why Titanic started as well from Southampton.
Are you sure you mentioned you were from Croatia? Are you sure that Ellen White didn't have a prophecy about Luka Modric and his ability?
My wife is Croatian, but I'm from Bosnia. Yeah,
Ah,
I have all ex-Yugoslavia in me, so
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like melted of ex-Yugoslavia.
But
So
listen,
my
you bring
wife.
up you bring up a good point that a lot of people visit Southampton. It'd be great to have a spot where they can come witness the beginning of, and you get a sense, especially if you're cruising and stopping there, you're getting off the boat like they did, and you're walking, or I don't know, taking an Uber or something, whatever it is you're going to do. And then you get to kind of realize, okay, so this is what it's like to step off the boat and come to a new land, and just look out and say, wow, we've got a lot of work to do here. That's amazing. I want to see this happen so badly. I really do.
This is my prayer, and the day when we submitted, actually conference needs to submit the offer, and we were waiting and waiting. It was bidding.
Yeah.
Uh, this night before we get up, I had such a stomach ache, and I wake up 5 o'clock, and me and head elder, we were texting each other.
Yeah.
I can't receive any news, and then we received a group call from conference, and when they told us our offer is accepted, we were
Ah.
screaming children. Now we are just waiting, to materialize financially that we are capable to purchase it, and
Yeah.
God wants it, we will get keys in
Yeah.
spring and need to renovate. Good thing is that one of my elder, he's builder, so he has his company, so he can do some donations as well.
Well,
You are in this mode when you are just, and this is something that annoys me about God. He's, how we call it, the students procrastinators, everything doing in the last minute, God, do it in advance so that I can enjoy process and everything. You are praying until the last minute, and then it's end
yeah,
of the
yeah.
day. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was not.
Well, this is why I think the most dangerous prayer disciples ever prayed was, Lord, increase our faith, because you're giving God permission to really mess with you, right? In a very deep level. It's like, all right, you want him to increase your faith. He's going to put you in uncomfortable positions. But listen, I think personally, one of the most impactful things we can do with Adventist history, we have a lot of books, we have a lot of seminars and sermons about Adventist history, but just something tangible. One of my favorite things we did in 2024, by we, I mean Dr. Michael Campbell and I, was lead the bus tour through New England to, I don't know if New England offends anybody in Old England, but in these states to visit these historic places. And it means so much more when you can walk into Joseph Bates' house when you can get syrup, maple syrup from William Miller's farm, and it just feels more real having historic places. And I love this idea of having a space for a museum, or I don't know, whatever you're going to call it there in the new church building. And then also be able to just walk down the street and you can come say, okay, Ellen White stayed in that house, da 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 da. And you can even go all the way to the Mayflower Monument and just connect the dots for people and just help them feel really like Adventist history is not this intellectual history. It is the history of real people who walked this earth not too long ago, and some of these buildings are still standing where they were. We need more of that kind of history.
Yeah, yeah. Even Ellen White was talking about that, and Marcus, he used this quote when she was promoting the book about John Labor, and he said, we need to keep it in front of our eyes, especially in the context of UK, when you have a majority of church population is first or second generation immigrants, and your kids, they consider, oh, this is something that my parents brought from Croatia, from Philippines, Africa, Caribbeans,
Yeah.
and they want to be local and they want to detach themselves somehow from this story, they want to be cool for their friends here. But if you show them, yeah, that Adventism is more local than you think. Our grandma Ellen White was walking down the road.
Yeah.
And you feel very, very local. So I think it would, yeah, it cannot compensate all weaknesses that we have as a church. We need still to work on them, but it would be quite a good booster for them. We have even more
Yes.
ideas what would be. We
Yes.
don't have medical center in all UK. There is no Adventist medical center. I don't know. Did you know about that? So one of our doctors in the church, he said, okay, maybe we can our current church keep us a medical center, but we need money for purchasing and renovating the new church. So unfortunately, it is very likely that we are going to sell this church. But it was born in time of Washburn, so I don't think that you are quite sad about it. Yeah,
No, it's okay. Look,
enough.
I accept the good things Washburn did. All right. He just overall just you guys can, if you don't know what we're talking about here, go back and listen to these episodes, especially one called The Spirit of Washburn. He just, I think for me, Washburn, even if he did good things, he's also that influence in that every pastor knows about. There's one in a lot of churches whose job it just is to just kind of say this isn't good enough, and you're a heretic, and da 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 da, and just kind of tear down this spirit of Washburn that I'm talking about, that just criticizes constantly, that looks at the worst side of what somebody said, isn't charitable in how we interpret each other and all these sort of things. I know he did very many good things, and I hope I told some of those stories. I don't think I told a lot about his story of him being in the UK, though.
No, you didn't mention a lot in podcast, and we spoke about that. But problem is that we don't have enough material, so maybe we should put together some materials to have an episode about working
Okay.
in Britain, because we are historical part. But what I like about Warren, I don't like this negative part. But what I like about him, during Minneapolis and all this great conflict, he was on wrong side, and he admitted later on that he was on wrong side. But
Yeah.
he went to chase Ellen White. He was not just gossiping around.
Yeah.
He wanted to settle the thing. So I think we as a pastor today we should have this attitude. If you
Yeah.
have a problem, try to settle with the person. Don't go and gossip around.
Yeah.
And then she was talking with him. I think it was somewhere, no, I forgot the place where they met. But she was telling him about her work and visit in the UK. So maybe she motivated him to come. And he was very useful, despite
Yeah.
when you are reading his letter to Ellen White after he's leaving Southampton. He said, yeah, I was following your instruction to have the best place,
Yeah.
but work is poorly done, and still you can feel that he's a little bit above the story and
Yeah.
other are
Yeah.
not doing a good job. So you can feel this sense, but in Southampton, I think he's one of the hero, and we should not neglect this part for him. When he came, it was only 20 members.
Yeah.
And, and to work in England, Labor said it is much harder than in US. So they had only 20 members after almost 15 years of work. And Washburn managed within 3 years to raise the membership from 20 to
Hey,
120.
credit where credit is due. I do think this is an important thing. I know this is not an episode about Washburn, but whenever his name comes up, we always got to take a few minutes for Washburn. But I do think this is an important historical point you're raising, and that is there are no heroes and villains in history. You can't just code this person's good, this person's bad. Everybody is complex, and they do some good things and some bad things. And we got to be willing to see both of those things. So I'm willing to admit if Washburn did some good things, that's perfectly fine. He's a human being. He's not a cartoon villain. He's not a Marvel villain. He's a real person, and he did a lot of great things as well.
It is important to hear even bad side. I don't like this King Jong-un life story, you know, when supernatural. And sometimes we as Adventists when we want to do that. Bible doesn't present King David in this way, all
Yeah.
heroes. No, they say, but he was son of one prostitute. Bible has this kind of moments,
Yes. Yes.
and if God wills, when we are going to create this heritage center, and I'm hoping that even next year we will be able to see parts of this heritage center. We are working with Ellen White Center at Newbold College, and I want to present real story, you know, with good side and bad side, and all these characters that have been in
Yeah.
Southern. You in the US, you have more characters, you know, and you can create story, but we have only few of them who visited us among pioneers, you know. So
Yeah.
then we can see even Dr. Kellogg. You know, Kellogg stuff are very popular today here in UK. So his story should be said as well. So I want to present both good and bad side, and then our young people, because I think that the most important thing is to invest in our youth. They need to
Yeah.
see that even those pioneers had good side and bad side.
Yeah.
And then it could. Oh, I was reading one pastor. You can cut it if you want.
Oh
He's
no.
not Adventist pastor. He was junkie, and he was on high when he decided to walk in one church. And pastor was preaching about Balaam, but from
Mm-hmm.
King James Bible.
Mm-hmm.
And over there, pastor was preaching how Balaam. I'm sure you read that old word for donkey is ass.
Yes.
So pastor was preaching how God was speaking through Balaam's ass. And then this guy, he was on high, and he said, this is something wrong with my drug. He was looking people around, and everyone was just nodding, approving what pastor is saying. He said, I need to stop taking drugs. And conclusion was, if God was, this is what he said to himself, if God was able to use Balaam's sass, there is chance for me. So I think that we need to present all sides to our members, good and bad, not to idolize it, to be real with our pioneers.
Yeah.
And I think they would be able to buy. Because today in media, they don't like propaganda. And we saw how it looks in media. And new generation, they're not buying it. But
Yeah.
when you tell them real story, they love it and they are going to stay it. And we as Adventists, we have plenty to offer. We have plenty to offer because our movement is based on pure emotion and love to God.
Yes. Yes. What I hear you saying is building this heritage center, if God wills that it be finished, it doesn't solve all the problems the church faces, right? We still need to find a way to evangelize in a secular, in a post-Christian world. But it can help because it connects, especially young people, with the past and those who have gone before. And I like how you say this. We're not trying to put them up on pedestals and make idols out of those who have come before. We want them to be relatable. We want them to be understandable. And this can help persuade people to say, hey, yeah, I want to stay with this movement. Let's be real about our history. This is something is definitely a value for me with the Adventist History Project, and I know it is with all the podcasts that we have. Like, just be real about these things. And I've seen personally a lot of people respond to that. Like, they're tired of being told the sanitized, cartoon, sugary version of Adventist history. Just tell me what happened, the good and the bad together. And I find people respond to that a lot more than they do to putting people on pedestals.
Yes, I think this is one of the key of your success, that you try to not be biased. And this is my hope for Europe, because in Europe we had one small heritage center in Switzerland, and UK is equally important for our pioneer work in Europe. And I know that majority of Adventism is based in US, but we need to have something here. I know that we are always, like younger brother of successful person.
No, no, no,
Trying to
no.
be there. But it would mean for us, especially in British context, history is very important. Stonehenge, bunch of stones, but they created very good story, and there is museum next to it. So in this context, if we want to do some evangelism work, first you need to tell them, yes, I'm local. I'm part of this narrative, and this is what I can contribute. And we
Mm,
as Adventists, we can in this building that I show. This is good potential to have a primary school or preschool over there. We had in London John Laboro School, but it was closed. So maybe we can reopen it in Southampton John Laboro
yeah,
or something like that. So there is great potential in this building. But when we were looking for the church and we saw, oh, this is historical place, I think this is once in a lifetime. But
yeah.
even this building has a very good connection with us. Those Puritans, they are on the tracks of Calvin, and they left to US. But in the UK, they have Presbyterians, they have other fraction of Calvinism, and they united, and they call themselves United Reformed Church today. And this church
Mm.
belonged to them. So somehow we have connection, because when Ellen White came in 1885, they were building their church, and this church was amazing. Let me show you the photo of
Oh,
this church.
all right.
Yeah, yeah. But it was destroyed during Second World War.
Nope, that's not it.
Yeah, so
Tell me when you're ready. I'm switching to our text messages and stuff. There we
so
go.
here
Now we're ready.
Here you can see this is the original United Reformed Church that was opened when Ellen White visited. And it was just across the road of this place where they pitched the first tent.
Okay, so
So
this is
it's
the
not on the
original
same.
church. It was built just after they got there. It looks like 1884, 1885. So they were in
Yes, yes.
Southampton a few years before this was built.
Yes, so when Ellen White visited, she visited twice in 1885 and 1887. So she remembers this building. And in heaven, I'm going to ask her about does
There
she
you
have
go.
a memory of that?
Oops.
And
Yeah.
in the new church, if you remember the stained glass window that I
Oh, yeah,
said,
yeah, yeah. Here.
glass window, and here you can see the old church burning, and the
Huh.
new church is there with this stained glass window here. So this is what we can see. And on the bottom said together for an habitation of God.
Hmm.
And they opened the new church, it was 1956, more than 10 years after the first one was destroyed. And for more than 10 years, they worshipped in our church on Sunday. We had worship on Saturday. So together for an habitation of God is because few churches get together to build a new
Yeah.
building. So even with this church, we have historical connections, because we are this sister helping them to bring front of Jesus this new church. So even in that building, despite that it's not that old, we have our
Yeah.
our
Yeah.
part.
Wow.
When you
I
started
love
to
that.
dig about history, there is plenty of stuff that really I have this wow moment as I cannot believe. So let me show you just one more thing
Yeah.
about the map. Yeah, so you can see here Mayflower is on the bottom, and this is Shirley Road, the place where Ellen White and our pioneer worked. So here is Ravenswood uh, Villa, where first church was organized. And across the road, you can see URC building that is on sale, that our offer is accepted. Here is our current church. Here was the house of Sister Sarah that Ellen White visited, had dinner with her. I think it was July 7th, something like that. And here they worshiped for a little while. And here was first tent meeting across the road. It was Fremantle Congregational Church, later on URC Church. So what you can notice that they are always on the right and we are all left, or depends on which side you're looking.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have history with them, and I think to take a walk down this road, and after hearing everything in Heritage Center and seeing, those photos, etc., etc. And then you take the walk down the road. And I have even photo of our pioneers who have been there. Let me
Oh,
show it for you.
fantastic.
Yeah, so you can see here is John Laboro. Here is William Insk. This is Haskell. Oh yeah, we have name under, so I don't need to.
Yeah,
Gardner
yeah,
and
yeah,
Haskell.
yeah.
So you see with their voice. Yeah. So maybe I'm the closest with my beard to John Laboro. So in
I
this
can see it.
heritage, pretend John Laboro. Yeah. So there is plenty of history that I would love to share with our members, and sometimes I think that, yeah, I don't know, is it interesting for you to see the Philharmonic Hall where they held their
Sure.
their meet. So Ellen White was had their meetings, and during the time of Washburn, they needed to hold 4 meetings in one smaller room, and this is the reason why they went into the biggest room. It's like theater, so there
Yeah.
is. You must visit, I think, for the guy
Okay.
who is father of Adventist history of me, the Adventist history, because we didn't have something like that, and I was so thankful to God when I discovered it podcast. That this is something that I like, because I don't like this pinkish,
Yeah.
report, and you
Yeah.
must be nice about it. And here you can be open and say, okay, look, I didn't like how Spicer behaved or Washburn what he did, despite he did great job for us,
Sure.
but he should not behave this way. So it would be
Yeah.
amazing to, to see that. This is my dream. I don't know, is it going to come true? It seems it is going to, but financially we are not there. So we are trying to fundraise, and all
Yeah.
conferences involved in that. So
So
each
so let's be clear
contribute.
about the steps here. You guys, the offer has been accepted on the church, but you still need £500,000 or so to renovate it. Is that 500,000 include money to make this heritage center, or is that going to be a third step?
Yeah, it would be third step, but we would start as we are going. We would start with the simple stuff, to print the images with the text. So it would not take a lot of money, to heritage. And so we are trying to fit in everything. So first step would be to renovate the church and toilet so that worship place. And after that, we are going to renovate sport hall, and we are going to renovate this additional room. And as we are renovating each area, then we can build a heritage center room. And my idea is even those corridors, because we will have sport hall, and when you have sport hall, you have all locals people coming to play, and also choir and this kind of stuff in sport hall. So I want these corridors to be memorial corridors. When you're, you
Ah,
know, the photos of Titanic Museum, you don't have plenty of stuff, tangible stuff,
yeah,
but photos and text on the walls are something that sticks in your minds. We are not aware how much it would stick in our mind, and it is quite important to tell people, especially when you hear the pastor who is not local. You cannot notice my British accent, but people know that I'm not local. But if they saw that Adventism is not something that they immigrated in our country from Croatia, from Bosnia, so yeah, they can worship, they can have their time, but it's not important for us as a locals. But if they saw, oh, this something local, this is 100
I
years
love
here,
that.
this I want. And then if you came in our church, you have over 20 nations. So no, you see that this is not something African, Caribbean, European. This is something international.
Yeah,
So people get curious to see what is
yeah.
gluing them. And something that catch my ear is we have our WhatsApp group of all pastors and ministers of all denominations in Southampton. And I went on one of those meetings just to chat with, colleagues, and I spoke with Anglican vicar, as they call it, their pastor. And I said, oh, but how is going about the mission? Is there chance to, this younger generation? Now Britain is only less than 50% Christian. So Christians are minority. I said, is there chance for us to do some outreach? And he said, yes, young people are very keen
Yeah.
on going to church, but they don't like Anglican church because it is connected to government. And
Mm.
he said, you have more chance to approach them. So we need to use this opportunity. And I saw people like family atmosphere.
Yeah.
They don't want to be, exposed to something mystical, to something that is completely perfect without any mistake. When they saw that you are man of flesh and that you have your weaknesses and that you are fighting it with Jesus Christ, they want to be part of that because they didn't came in the church to show off as this young man and approach the
Yeah.
Jesus as, okay, let me tick the box and show off example of the saved person. This is not what we need. We want to approach those who are starving for Jesus, and they say, okay, I see people who are fighting and they are there, and then they say history, and you say, okay, you see how they were fighting for us to have it today.
Yeah.
Because they are asking 1 million for the church, and we cannot get for our small church this amount of money, but we will need to sell it because we don't have capacity, to
Right.
run to building neither to have it. But yeah, it is a little bit sad, but we try to get in touch with those huge medical centers, and if they want to open something in the UK, you never know, maybe someone is listening. So if you feel moved and you want to start medical ministry in Southampton, Center of Influence, whatever, we can sell you our church if you want.
There you go.
Give you this.
Give you a discount.
I can discount it. Yeah, so this is some of stuff that it is waiting for us during this summer. Sale of our church, purchasing of new one, renovating, and then in the same time I'm going to work with the guys from Ellen White Center, from Heritage Center. Also, I will nag you for some information, that we have something proper in our church. So we will see.
Very good. I just before we go, one last observation, and then I have a question for you. The observation is, I really appreciate what you said about we need to, I think in the States, maybe we need to make Adventist history international, because I think we're accustomed to Adventist history being national, taking place in the States. We need to be reminded that it's international, that Adventism is global, and I think global, the outside of the States, every other location needs to think of Adventist history as local, because I think so long as the story, if you're in the UK or South Africa, and the Adventist story is in this small town of Battle Creek in Michigan, a bunch of things happened. It's like, I can't relate to that. What does that have to do with me? I think this is the thing that I'm most excited about with Adventist history, is that we are going to get local histories from all these different countries, all these different cities that are going to emerge over the next so many decades, however long time lasts. And we're going to get to learn more about Adventism in China, more about Adventism in India, Adventism in all sorts of different places, because I don't know. I don't know what's happened. People write books. Some of them do, local Adventists, but that sometimes they don't make it their way into English, or they don't make their way all the way to the States. And so we don't know always what happened. So I want to see this. I want to see this happen. I want to see local histories.
Yeah, I hope that Marcus and all team would trigger people across the world to do as they trigger us. We were dreaming, and then we saw this present. Said, okay, yeah, so we are not alone in this idea. And when I have been in India on a mission trip in New Delhi, we have been in New Delhi, Gorakhpur, Varanasi, and then I have been in New Delhi. I think it was Union Building. I just asked about the building for how long, and they said our pioneers, Americans who came, they built this. So all these stories needs to be said, and I think it was on this global concept even more.
Yeah, definitely. So my question for you as we close is, if somebody wants to support this project, how can they donate?
Yes, so maybe the easiest way is to donate to GoFundMe. I will send you a link so you can put in the description of
It'll be in the notes then.
Yeah, also I will send you my phone number and email so people can contact me through WhatsApp or Viber, up to them. So if they need some further information. Yeah, so also if they need our bank account, etc., they can feel free to contact me. Or just if they want to pray for us, they're free then. But yeah.
All right, Pastor, thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you for sharing stories of the area where you pastor and a little bit of the Adventist history that took place there And I'm excited about these plans you have for your new church building.
Thank you very much for having me.